Welcome back to the Crusaders Coliseum Raid Guide. I'm Splug, and in this video I'll be going over our strategy for the heroic difficulty of the Faction Champions encounter. If you'd like more information, or would like to learn more about downloading this movie, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to TankSpot. Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right so you'll be automatically notified as we release movies. We initiate the fight by capturing as many of the NPCs in Hungering Cold as possible. While this does very little to actually slow them down, it does trigger the AI to burn about every one of their PvP trinket cooldowns, which makes them more susceptible to other forms of control later. This encounter is very similar to its non-heroic counterpart. No new mechanics are introduced. The opposing team is now immune to fixate effects such as Taunt or Dark Command, and their individual health and damage are increased. All other mechanics and abilities remain constant. Our strategy revolves around a one-to-one control plan. Most of the NPCs have a specific player assigned to control them as best they can. The remaining raid members form the assist train responsible for actually completing the encounter. Particularly, the rogue, warrior, and healers will cause significant problems if allowed to move and act freely. For this pull, we assigned a Death Knight each to chain down the rogue and warrior, a rogue to each of the paladin and holy priest, and 3 mages to rotate counterspells on the opposing shadow priest and mage. We also had a moonkin assigned to cycloning the opposing Death Knight when convenient. As mentioned, the rogue and warrior form the largest part of the incoming burst damage. While the enemy casters can provide a fair amount of throughput damage and control, the rogue is capable of killing a mage in a second or two. The players assigned to controlling these two melee will need to be ready to call out their target's target, as the rogue will occasionally be using Cloak of Shadows or Shadow Step, or have the paladin use Cleanse of Freedom. Whoever the melee are pursuing needs to be very aware of their position and quickly move to kite if the rogue suddenly closes distance. Our damage order involves reducing the healers first, then removing the core melee damage, the rogue and warrior, and finally burning the casters down in an arbitrary order. The pets were quickly removed shortly after the shaman and totems. Once the healer and melee are dead, the fight becomes a matter of simply cleaning up the remainder one target at a time. Due to the length of time involved in working through the opposing team with several of our own damage down, several repetitive sections of the back half of this encounter will be omitted from the video. From this point on, the encounter is very stable. While the encounter can be hectic, especially initially, the majority of it does come down to these simple guidelines. Keep their melee under control, prevent the healers, and if the rogue or warrior come running at you, run the other way. Break-on damage control effects such as polymorph or repentance are largely limited by the chaotic nature of the fight, encouraging fan of knives interrupts, as well as their susceptibility to dispel magic. Snares, stuns, and interrupts will prove to be the strongest forms of control. Thanks for watching this movie. As usual, feel free to ask questions or add suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on TankSpot.com. Also, TankSpot donors can download all of these movies in high definition directly from our servers. Click the second link in the movie information box to learn more.